Game of Thrones has brought epic fantasy, I think, to television in a big way. There was a lot of resistance to that for a long time. I mean, epic fantasy has, ever since Tolkien, really, has been hitting the bestseller lists and performing very strongly as books, but not so much in television. In television, the studios and the networks seemed reluctant to tackle it, and when they did tackle it, they treated it as a kids' fare, something for 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, very safe, playful. And there's nothing wrong with kids' fantasy. I grew up on that myself, but a lot of modern epic fantasy is very much oriented toward the adult audience, and certainly Game of Thrones is that way. So I think we've proved with Game of Thrones that there's a massive audience out there for sophisticated adult epic fantasy.
What would you say to recent questions from fans of people asking about there not being enough gay sex scenes in your books?
I don't think that's a huge, someone brought it up at the Edinburgh Book Festival where I was, so now I answered that question. It's in the news. I do have gay characters, and that was something that was very important to me to do when I began this series back in 1991, because at that time there weren't very few gay characters in epic fantasy, and I wanted to reflect that segment of the population. Gay people enjoy epic fantasy too, and gay people are an important part of our world and any imaginary fantasy world. So I included some pretty important and I think heroic gay characters, but they weren't viewpoint characters. And since I use a strict kind of third-person viewpoint structure, the gay sex scenes took place off stage. But who knows if that will be true for the last two books. We'll have to see where the story leads me.
Yeah, brilliant. And this is a bit of a stab in the dark, right? Can you give us an insight to how the books might end? Is it going to be a happy ending, a sad ending?
I think there's going to be a bittersweet ending. I've always taken my influence from J.R. Tolkien, and if you've read Lord of the Rings, Sauron is defeated and the ring is destroyed in the end, but it's not a happy ending. There's a real sense of things lost too, and I found that very powerful and very moving, and so I think my ending will also have a bittersweet tone. I hope, if I can bring it off the way I want to bring it off.
Brilliant. And we're in London right now, and London has a rich history for sci-fi, Doctor Who, Red Dwarf and whatnot. Would you say
we're near Canary Wharf? I believe that was where Torchwood was located.
Literally around the corner. Would you then say that British history has played a little influence in some of your books?
Well, British history has played enormous impact on Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. I mean, the Wars of the Roses are probably the single biggest influence. So I've drawn from French history and Scottish history and other things, but at the center of it all is the Wars of the Roses. And I have the Lannisters and the Starks, and in real life it was the Lancasters and the Yorks. And I've changed things around a little. I've mixed and matched. I've taken a bit of that character and a bit of that character to create my own characters who hopefully stand on their own. But the influence of British history is huge.
Brilliant. Mega fans. You've got a lot of them. Do you ever listen to them?
Well, they write me letters. I used to respond to all the letters, but unfortunately there's so many now I can't do that anymore. But some of my fans have been very useful to me. Elio Garcia and Linda Ann Thompson, who do the Westeros site, have been big fans since the beginning. And I brought them in to help me do this book that's coming out in October, The World of Ice and Fire, which is a concordance and a history, huge, beautifully illustrated art book that has all the history and the legends of Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms and even the lands beyond Westeros. And Elio and Linda worked with me on that. So fans can have a huge influence. Also, right here at the convention, there's a large number of my official fan club here, the Brotherhood Without Banners, and they'll be throwing probably the most kick-ass party at the convention, and they're a great group of people, the bros as we call them. So new people should come to LunCon and join in and meet the bros.
Brilliant. Do you sometimes ever feel pressure from your fans to deliver?
Oh, I feel pressure all the time.
Yeah.
But I always have. I mean, everybody wants the books finished. No one as much as me, but you still have to have to write them. Just wishing them to be done doesn't get them written, and it's hard work and it's long work. They're big books.